God, I didn't walk into that job expecting drama. I wasn't chasing a title or trying to prove anything. I just wanted something steady, a place where I could do good work, be treated normally, and go home without carrying the office around in my chest. It was a non-profit, so I expected a certain level of chaos. Tight budgets, too many meetings, everyone stretched thin. But I also expected decency. 2. I wanted to believe the mission would attract people. Who could disagree without turning everything into a quiet power struggle? I was hired part-time in fundraising, which already put me in a strange position. Fundraising is invisible when it's working, and suddenly very visible when it's not. And being part-time means you're always at risk of being treated as optional, even when your work isn't. Not long after I started, Jamie joined the organization, full-time in administration. We shared an office. At first, it was easy. Normal. We'd say good morning. Trade small talk. Or help each other find files or figure out where something lived on the shared drive. She was competent, organized, a little sarcastic in a harmless way. The kind of coworker you assume will stay neutral. Things worked. I kept my head down and focused on the job. Fundraising is quiet work writing, tracking, following up, shaping language, managing relationships no one else sees. Over time, I got better at it. I learned what was realistic and what was wishful thinking. I started spotting patterns. People began asking for my input. Small moments, but in a small organization, those moments add up fast. That's when the tone started to change. It wasn't obvious at first. Just little things. Shorter answers. Delayed responses. A look that didn't match the words. The kind of stuff you second guess because it's subtle enough to explain away. 2. Then I noticed it wasn't happening with everyone. Just with me. Especially when my work was visible. I'd mention a donor conversation that went well and get a response that felt less like curiosity and more like a test. Someone would compliment something I'd written, and the room would go quiet. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Stress happens. Burnout happens. I didn't want to imagine conflict where there wasn't one. But the pattern kept repeating. One day, I questioned a budget projection and suggested we be careful with the numbers. Jamie looked at me and said, "Well, we've always done it this way." It wasn't advice. It was a boundary being drawn. After that, I started noticing how often she used that language. We've always. That's how it's done, not as context, but as a way to shut things down. Without consciously deciding to, I started protecting myself. I put more in writing. I followed up after conversations. I shared less. The shared office stopped feeling neutral and started feeling tense. Not openly, hostile, just unpredictable. And unpredictability is exhausting. Again, it moved from tone to impact. I found out about a fundraising-related meeting after it had already happened. Not from an email. Not from notes. I overheard it in passing. When I asked about it, I was told it was just a quick conversation. When I said I needed to be included, I was agreed with in theory and ignored in practice. It kept happening. Moved last minute. Conversations happened in the moment. Emails must not have gone through. Always something. Always me left out. Here, in one staff meeting, Jamie presented fundraising numbers I hadn't seen. Numbers that weren't accurate. I corrected them calmly. The room appreciated the clarity. Jamie didn't. After the meeting, she said nothing to me. Later, she whispered something rude under her breath when no one else could hear. That was the moment something clicked. This wasn't stress. This wasn't miscommunication. This was contempt. And contempt is a choice. I realized I couldn't do my job well while being blocked from information and treated like my expertise was optional. So I did what people often do, quietly, before they do it publicly. I started looking for another job. I didn't announce it. I didn't make a scene. I updated my resume at night. Applied quietly. During the day, I stayed professional. I documented everything. I protected the work. Especially the budget, because unrealistic fundraising numbers don't just look bad, they create real consequences later. And when those consequences hit, fundraisers are easy to blame. Jemmy ignored my written feedback. Sent drafts unchanged. Talked about my work as if she controlled it. Denied saying things she'd clearly said. Alternated between coldness and sudden friendliness, like friendliness could erase behavior. I stopped trying to fix the relationship. I focused on surviving it. Then something unexpected happened. A full-time employee from another team had to take sudden medical leave. The organization scrambled. Work still needed to be done. And I raised my hand. I offered to cover part of the role.
What started as temporary support grew quickly. I organized the work, learned the systems, coordinated across teams. For the first time, my work wasn't filtered through someone else. It was visible, direct, grounded. Leadership noticed. As the leave extended, they asked me to apply for the position. Then they offered it to me full-time. I was allowed to shape the role, keep part of my fundraising work, and help hire an assistant. I was given my own office. And just like that, the power dynamic shifted. Jamie became distant, then overly friendly, then careful. I stayed professional, clear, neutral. I didn't seek revenge. I set boundaries. Communication stayed factual, documented, focused on outcomes. The organization functioned better when information flowed directly, when numbers were grounded in reality, when roles were respected. I learned something important in that process. You don't always win workplace conflicts by confronting them head-on. Sometimes you win by staying competent, protecting your work, and refusing to shrink. By letting consistency outlast insecurity. I didn't leave the organization the way I expected to, but I did leave behind the version of myself that thought being quiet would keep the peace. And that changed everything.